Welcome to the Sarah Finkelstein Show, where the next 10 minutes can change your life. Also on Spotify, SoundCloud, and iHeartRadio. Here's Sarah.
You know some of the common mistakes that business owners make? Well, there's a few of them. And top of the list is the fact that business owners like to take many, many deductions on their income tax return. Why? Because by showing a lot of expenses, it lowers their taxable income so that they spend less on their taxes, which means what? More money in their pocket. So I think most of us can agree that we would all like to spend less on our income taxes rather than more. So what is the downside of doing so? Well, the downside for business owners of showing less income rather than more income is, guess what? It affects their Social Security retirement benefits. Once they get to retirement and they elect to turn on their Social Security income because they're showing a lower taxable income, they will get a lower Social Security benefit. Did you know that for many people, Social Security can represent anywhere from 25 to 50% of their income in retirement? Yes, it is true. And of course, the longer that you wait to turn on your Social Security, the more money you will get every single month. And most importantly, when it comes to Social Security, remember that money comes to you every single month for as long as you live. Even if you live to 95, even if you live to 100, even if you make it to 112, Social Security will continue to give you your benefit for the rest of your life. Now, isn't that a nice guarantee? Another issue that business owners make is that they don't have an emergency fund, or their emergency fund is insufficient. So, what the heck is an emergency fund? Well, an emergency fund is a pot of money that you have sitting somewhere. Maybe it's in a bank, in a money market account that is liquid, meaning that you can access it at any time without any kind of penalties. And why is it important to have an emergency fund? Simply because we all encounter emergencies in our life, whether it's a home improvement emergency, the roof, a new refrigerator, something breaks in the home, we all need an emergency fund. But beyond that, the reason that we need an emergency fund is to replace our income, our expenses rather, for a certain amount of time. I'm sure you've heard this. You should have 6 months or 9 months or 12 months worth of your expenses in the event that maybe you lose a job. So an emergency fund is very important. And for people who don't have an emergency fund, what do? Typically, they turn to credit cards. They use their credit cards to pay for that emergency. And oftentimes, they do not pay off that bill in full. So what happens? They pay interest charges. So having an emergency fund is not only important for business owners, but is also important for every individual to have. Before you start to invest your money, make sure that you have an emergency fund. Another issue that many business owners are dealing with is that they do not have a business continuation plan. For example, let's say a business owner has a partner or two or five, whatever it may be. What happens to the business when a partner passes away suddenly? Does that partner's wife step in? Because think about it. That partner's wife can step into the business. Does that person know much about the business? That is why it's so important to have a buy-sell agreement in place for every partner in the business. So that way, if God forbid something like that were to happen, the business owners can buy each other out. Another issue that many business owners and individuals also are guilty of is not saving enough money. Think about it. You might be working for 30 or 40 years before you reach retirement, but then you spend another 30 or 40 years in retirement. That is why it's so important to save money, put money aside for your future so that you can live a carefree, worry-free retirement. So that's another issue that applies to both business owners and individuals, is not saving enough. Typically, our savings rate, meaning Americans' savings rate, tends to be very, very low. At the minimum, all of us should be saving at least 10% of our income for our future retirement or other goals that we may have. Another common mistake that business owners make is because of the fact that they don't save enough money during their working years, they end up relying on the sale of the business to replace their pre-retirement income. And we don't know how that sale of the business is going to work out. We don't know what kind of economic times we'll be dealing with when the individual wants to sell the business. Sometimes it's not sellable at the rate that the business owner thinks that it's valued at. So it is important to, again, save money, create another stream of income for retirement. And another common problem, well, first of all, let me ask you, do you think that in the future, taxes will be higher or lower? Most of the times when I ask this question, most people will say that taxes will be higher in the future. So why don't you have a source of tax-free income? We should all be putting money aside that's going to generate for us tax-free income in retirement, because that tax-free income will not be subject to what? Taxes. Exactly. And what does that mean? Again, that means that you will have more disposable money in your pocket. Because remember, in retirement, it's not what you get, but what you get to keep after you pay the tax bill. So these are very common mistakes that business owners make, and some individuals as well. I'm sure that I could probably come up with 10 other problems, but I just want to keep it short and simple. And if you have any questions about anything, feel free to reach out. And most of all, very importantly, take advantage and check out financialfitnessforever.com. Again, I'll repeat, go to financialfitnessforever.com and download the free report that is there. I am sure that you will pick up at least one tidbit that can help you.
Knowledge is power, but only when you implement what you've learned to your own benefit. Tune in next time for even more powerful tips on the Sarah Finkelstein Show.